I say, no matter what course others may take, as for me, give me liberty or give me death. And along those lines, if you guys have a little bit more patience, Terry wants me to give you a quick update on the Second Amendment case we have going against the state of California, because once again, they're trying to tyrannize us and strip us of our liberty. What California has done, in spite of the history, in spite of the law, in spite of the Constitution, they have passed statutory bans on the Second Amendment. We have concealed carry in 58 counties where the state has delegated the authority to some sheriffs to decide who may carry and who may not. What does the Second Amendment say? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It doesn't say the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall be given to the sheriff to decide whether it's okay or not for you to do it. But that's what they've done. And so there was a case, and I'll go quickly through this. I know we're all getting tired. There was a case, Prudu v. San Diego, where the court held that concealed carry is not a right. It's a permission. States can ban it. States can outlaw it. States can regulate it. They can do whatever they want. So we won't talk about concealed carry anymore. Because, as the court found in Peruta, the Second Amendment falls wholly outside of concealed carry. Concealed carry is not a right. If there is a right under the Second Amendment to carry, it must be open. So open carry, and that means open and exposed, is the only right you have under the Second Amendment. Everybody thinks the same thing. Well, isn't it tactically superior to have concealed carry and have the element of surprise? Yeah, maybe. Depends on the circumstances, depends on where you are, who you're with, what you have, what's going on. But it doesn't matter because it's not your right. It is a permission that may be granted to you and may not be. Open carry is your right, so we got to deal with that. That's the way it is. United States v. Cruikshank says the Second Amendment is wholly undependent on the Constitution. It predates the Constitution. It is unconnected with malicious service. It is an individual right for self-defense and preservation against tyranny. Hunting is not used in a sentence. You know why? Because in the founding era, everybody hunted. If you didn't hunt, you didn't eat. The Second Amendment had nothing to do with hunting. Everybody hunted. It had to do with the right, the natural, inalienable right for you to defend your life, your family, your home, your community, your state, and your nation, and to defend yourselves from tyranny, a tyrannical government. Of the people in Hong Kong right now protesting for liberty, they're waving American flags. They're saying the American Pledge of Allegiance, and they would wish to God they had a Second Amendment, because the police are coming and dragging them off the streets, and they will disappear and they will be killed. And the Chinese Communist Party will send the army in at some point, and they will stomp those people to death, because liberty is as fatal to their philosophy as the plague was in England. They cannot have liberty. And those people have not the tools to defend themselves against tyranny. Well, in California, Penal Code 25850, 26400, and 26350 bans the open carry of a loaded or unloaded weapon. It's banned. Concealed carry isn't a right. Open carry's been banned. So we sued them. And you know what California's response to that was? We can't, I'm trying to remember verbatim, I might miss a word or two. We can't possibly grant the relief that the plaintiff is seeking, because it would be impossible for us to grant access to open carry to all lawful individuals, because it might upset the carefully constructed and delicately balanced system of regulations designed to protect individual liberty, that one struck me, and maintain order. Well, they're protecting your liberty by banning the Second Amendment. That's protecting your liberty to them. But maintaining order, let's ask ourselves about that for 1 second. Criminals don't obey the law. That's why they're called criminals, by their very name, and that's in our motion. By their very moniker, they don't obey the law because they're called criminals. Lawful individuals, by their very moniker, by their name, obey the law. They're the only ones that obey the law. Criminals don't. So if you ban the Second Amendment, access to the Second Amendment to lawful people, who is it you're maintaining order over? You. That's who. They're maintaining order over you. What have you done to deserve that? Nothing. And the state further says, in 600 years of Anglo-American history, it has never been within the Second Amendment to grant the access to open carry to the average citizen. Wow, that flies in the face of history. I remember on April, I wasn't there, but I remember reading about it, on April 19, 1775, 70 men went behind the closet door under the bed over the hearth from the kitchen, and they got guns that they already owned, and bullets and ball and powder that they already had, and they walked outside their home, and they went down to the green, and they stood in the green to defend themselves against 700 troops from their own government who came there to kill them and disarm them. They did not defend the country from behind the bedroom curtain. They were not carrying their gun from the bedroom to the bathroom. They weren't shooting through the kitchen door. They went out into public openly and exposed with a firearm to defend themselves against tyranny, and the rest is history. So to make that statement in court is a lie, and this state lies all the time, and I don't know about you, but I'm sick of it, and I'm going to do something about it. Then further, let's take a look at the state of California. When Spain had dominion over Alta California, the state of California, there was no prohibition whatsoever in carrying any kind of weapon you want. In fact, private citizens were allowed to own cannons and pirate ships all the way through the Revolutionary War and beyond. In fact, during the Civil War, private individuals owned pirate ships with cannons on them and multi-shot weapons and pepper boxes. And there were also semi-automatic weapons then, the Girardini and a couple others. And Patrick probably knows the names of those better than I do. But at any rate, so when Spain owned Alta California, you could carry a gun, nobody cared. In fact, everybody did it if you wanted to stay alive. When Mexico owned California, there was 30 years there between Spain and the California Republic, but Mexico had California. There was no prohibition whatsoever from carrying any kind of gun you want. In fact, John Sutter bought 40 cannons from the Russians and drug them overland to Fort Sutter, called himself a captain, and set up his own militia. And the Mexican government never said a word to him. They didn't care. And then in 1850, from 1850 on, for 163 years, in one form or another, it was lawful and legal in California to openly carry a weapon. For 118 years, until 1968, you could carry a loaded weapon and walk straight into the state capitol building and no one would even look at you funny. And I remember my dad used to do it all the time. I can remember going to the grocery store and he had his .38 on him and nobody even looked at him funny. Because half the other guys had theirs too. Had a rifle in the back of his truck too. And everybody had one of those. When we were little kids, we used to take our guns to school. And we'd stack them up in the office, and they were loaded. I mean, we didn't unload them and take them to school. We were dumb kids. We took them loaded, and we'd lean them up in the office, and after school, we'd go get them and go out and shoot rabbits. I was on the rifle team in high school. I took my rifle to school with me. So did lots of kids. Everybody had a shotgun in the back of their truck, so you could go shoot doves or ducks after school. No one cared. No one cared. In 1968, the Black Panthers had a little demonstration in the Capitol in Sacramento. They took old pistols and a couple of M1 carbines and some shotguns, and they went into the Capitol. And here's what happened. And they were asking for directions to the gallery. Okay. 20 Black Panthers went into the state capitol with guns, and you know what? There was no panic. No one called the police. They went to the usher and asked directions to the gallery. Well, if he was really afraid, he might not have given them to him, huh? But he made a mistake. He told them to go through the wrong door. And instead of going up into the gallery so they could protest going like this with a gun saying, whatever they wanted to say, he led them into the assembly chamber itself. And that's where the bad things happened. No one was shot, no one was hurt. The state police came when they asked these guys to leave, and I got my own opinion about the Black Panthers, but this isn't about them, it's about guns. And they left. No one got hurt, no shots were fired, nothing bad happened. But right after that, Governor Ronald Reagan, champion of liberty, and Assemblyman Don Mulford from Oakland, they were so mad that they introduced 25850 and stripped every one of you of your constitutionally guaranteed ability to carry a loaded weapon exposed. That's when we lost our liberty, and you know what? The NRA helped write that bill and nobody said a word. Wow. I mean, the silence was deafening. And then in 2012 and 2013, little Anthony Portantino, the illustrious state senator from Glendora, California, who was the art director on the Grizzly Adams TV show, so his creds were way up there. He was in the entertainment industry. He said, you don't need a gun to go buy a cheeseburger. And they outlawed the open carry of an unloaded weapon, which is what we used to do. We'd carry the gun on this hip and the magazine on this hip. That was legal. It wasn't great, but at least you still had the thing if you needed it. I used to do it all the time. And then you couldn't even do that. So now, you can't carry concealed without a permission slip, and you may or may not get that one, and it's not your right anyway. And you are barred by law from carrying open. So I sued him. And the court hearing was supposed to be yesterday, but guess which judge we drew? Judge Mueller. Guess what she did? She did like she did in the CFR case. She waited till within a few days of the hearing and then changed the date so that we wouldn't fill the courtroom with people. So we had a rally yesterday, which was supposed to be court. Several hundred people showed up.